Where there's a Wills.
There's a play.
I'm Ian, your make-a-bussy casual gamer.
I'm Stacey. I am your non-gamer gamer.
And we're here today with our December 2024 month in review. So the theme for December on the showcase wall was 24 for 24. That was based on a series of challenges I set for myself, maybe a little too ambitious, especially once I set a third one where I chose 24 games in 3 different sets. And I played them in all the multiples of 24, so all 24 games one time, up to one game 24 times. And
I'll be right back.
and I did complete one of them. One of them I was very close, and another one, actually the other two I was very close. I just needed some plays to get up to 24. The week before my Christmas break, I ended up not feeling real well, and it ended up being strep. So I was just under the weather that week, the last week of school, and then I was also the first kind of the beginning of my Christmas break when I thought I'd do a lot of gaming was a little under the weather, so did not quite get all those. Yeah, so that was the theme. Sorry, Stacy had there was some noise over there. We had to turn down some noise over there.
FCS football games.
Yeah.
Playing.
Hey Jeff, thanks for joining us. Yeah, so we're gonna get right into it. First, we got some stats here. So I had 73 plays of 37 different games. 4 were new to me with an H index of 3.
I had 22 games with an H index of 3.
And
and 39 plays in 4 new games.
yeah, so so the H indexes were 3 for both of us and 4 new to us games, which means they were all multiplayer games. So let's get into our month in review. First game was a solo game, Age of Comics. This was on my list. I got it to the table once quick. Usually with this game, I want to get it out more than once because it is quite a bit of setup. It's a worker placement where you are trying to make comics in the golden age of comics, and you are going to different places on the board to do different parts of making a comic, and then you're trying to sell the comics. You're trying to make them worth more money and everything. So that is Age of Comics, a really good worker placement game. Oops, I'm on the wrong thing there. There we go. The second game is Blockus Duo.
Ooh, I
You wanna
like
talk
that
about this
game.
one?
Okay.
First?
Blockus. I always call it Blockus Duo, so that's not the correct pronunciation. It's Blockus Duo because you're playing blocks on the board. You're playing head to head, and you're trying to use your polynomial tiles to block the other person and keep them from being able to come into your territory for the most part. I don't do well at that game.
Yeah, the one big thing with this one is you're working on the same grid, and you can only place your tiles at a corner to your own, and so you're trying to figure out where you can place yours so that the other person can't place their stuff. So it's a lot of fun. With 2 people, the head-to-head one, the duo version is it's a lot of fun. We like that one.
Mm-hmm.
So Blockus Duo. The next game we played is Bot Factory, another solo one. Bot Factory is a worker placement game where you're moving across 4 different boards, trying to make different robots, trying to fulfill contracts, trying to increase the price of the robots. In the solo mode, you're not only playing against Sandra, who is kind of going through trying to inspect, but you're playing against Valella, I think his name, where he is trying to take stuff away from you and eliminate stuff. The 3 different boards are creating the robots and placing things down, getting pieces, getting blueprints, and making contracts and increasing the price. Really fun, lightweight, midweight, light to midweight worker placement by Vitel Lacerda. It is the lighter version I've heard of Kanban EV, so which is a pretty heavy game. So Bot Factory. The next game is Bounce Off Pop Out.
Bounce Off Pop Out is kind of remember when you were young and you had operation and you kind of got scared and it
Perfection.
or Perfection. Yes, Perfection. This is kind of like perfection in a way, but you have your little grid and you have your balls that
Ping pong balls.
ping pong balls that you're timed, and you have to hurry and bounce your balls into the grid into a particular shape that is on the card that you're trying to go for. One person goes, and the next person goes. But whoever gets that shape wins that card, and whoever comes to 5 cards first,
Yeah.
technically wins the game.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So in the base bounce off game in the basic version, you're just trying to do shapes on a regular board. This version adds a little timer where you push down and the things pop up. Basically, you're trying to put them into polyomino shapes ish as you're bouncing it on. So yeah, that's a fun one. Bounce off has been one of our New Year's Eve game night staples for quite some time. Unfortunately, one of our ping pong balls for the regular bounce off is broken, and we cannot find one that's the same size, and they're not the same size for this game. So it's a little weird that they don't have the same size ping pong balls, but that is bounce off.
that's the way the ball bounces.
Yeah. Next one is Cartographers. Cartographers is a flip and write where you are making a map and I'm trying to fulfill some different cards and score points. I played this one solo and had several got several games of heroes in with it, including the new ambush pack, and really enjoy this one. You are putting in villages and fields and water areas and forests, and then you're getting ambushed sometimes, and you have heroes that can help with the ambushes. Every season you have a certain value that you're trying to get to before you stop drawing cards, and you have different shapes and different colors, and every season you're trying to fulfill 2 different scoring cards. So that is Cartographers. Cascadia.
Cascadia, I like this game, Cascadia. It's a tile laying game where you are, again, trying to get your tiles in particular shapes, perhaps in different, I don't know what you call it.
Different regions. You have your habitats.
Yeah, got your different habitats. You have your different wildlife. You've got your mountains,
Swamps,
rivers,
lots of different,
all
yeah.
that good stuff with your animals, and you are basically trying to place all of your tiles so that you can win the most points at the end of your game.
Yeah, so you
laying your tiles.
Yeah, so you have each turn you're taking a hexagonal tile and a token that has an animal on it, and you're placing them in your own personal area. It's like multiplayer solitaire almost, but you do have a little bit with the drafting pool of what you can take. Yeah, you're trying to put your animals in certain configurations to score them. You're also trying to get large areas of the same habitats that score at the end. You can get some acorns, which allow you to, or pine cones, which allow you to kind of break the rules a little bit and either wipe away some of the tokens or choose a token that isn't aligned, that isn't intertwined with a certain tile. So that's Cascadia. That one's a pretty much a modern classic at this point. A lot of fun. Next one is Cover Your Assets. I played this one at school. I had forgotten I had actually played this one at school. I played this one at the very beginning of December with kids at school. Cover Your Assets is a card game from Grandpa Beck's where you are trying to get pairs of assets. So like there's a bunch of different assets that are worth different amount of money. You're trying to earn the most money and you're trying to get up to $1 million first. When you get a pair, you place it down in front of you. The next pair you put the opposite way. So you're kind of crisscrossing them back and forth.
Horizontal,
and
vertical.
And you are covering your assets because you don't want people to be stealing from you. Your top asset is always able to be stolen. If someone has the same card, they can steal it from you, and then they can and then they get it, but someone could steal it from them. And then there's also some wild. You can stop them from stealing it if you have a wild, a silver or gold, or you have the same card, which would stop them. Sometimes it goes back and forth several times. Had some really good games of this. I played this once at the beginning of December at my board game club at school. So that is Cover Your Assets. Next one is Draftosaurus.
Draftosaurus is a nope, that one's not the rolling right. See, it takes me a second to remember what the games are.
Draft.
It's a drafting. Thank you. It's a drafting game where you have your dinosaurs in a bag, and you have to get your pad of paper is assorted into different areas of a
Different
zoo
regions, different
for
yeah
the
of
most
the
part.
yeah.
And you have to roll your dice to figure out what part of the board the other person is going to be laying their dinosaurs in, and then you get to lay your dinosaurs in, and then you swap hands. So it's kind of a you pick me. Was
Well,
that what
it's
I pick
a
you
little I
choose
pick you
type of
choose, but
thing?
yeah, because so you're
Um,
drafting, and then you're
yeah.
just in a two-player game. You then discard one, and you're
Then you
handing
switch.
them the pot. So you're yeah, so you're kind of going back and forth, and
Yeah, so some of them you try and place like dinosaurs together. Some of them you try and place just the Brontosaurus, and um, it's a fun game. It's fun at two people as well.
yeah.
Um, it's a family game.
Yeah. This was
I
a new
like
one.
it.
This was a new to us one in 2024. I learned at a board game arena and then bought it because I knew it would be one that Stacy would enjoy. So I just Draftosaurus. It's kind of ironic how even though I had so many more games, we've got kind of gone back and forth between a solo game and a multiplayer game. All right. Oh,
Did we play? I know.
we did
Okay.
because you needed it for your alphabet challenge on New Year's
Oh,
Eve.
10-4. Okay.
And this is not the creepy
No,
cover. This is not.
I want to show you our creepy cover, but that's okay. I'll spare you the details.
Yes, we have the creepy cover of this. This cover is actually quite
Yeah, it's
nice. We
actually
have
decent.
we have go get it.
Okay,
I know you want to see it.
it's got
Okay,
feather.
so I'll talk about it real quick. So I know is a game where you have a 3x5 grid of cards that are in different categories. You roll a dice. You roll two dice. One tells you what color you can choose from. The other one tells you which number of question you have. First one is a true false. Second one is multiple choice. Third question is open ended. And what you do is you roll the dice, then you get to choose which card you want if there's more than one of a certain color. Oh, okay. Yeah, this really creepy eyeball that moves with the eyelid. Oh, this is so creepy. But anyway,
I'm
yeah.
just gonna keep it
So,
right here.
oh,
Make sure we have two
okay,
eyes.
yeah. That's even creepier. That's even creepier. But yeah, anyway, so the first thing you have to do is when you choose a card, you have to actually say what that card is before you can actually guess what it is. Before you can take any questions. If you don't know what it is, then you can't even do the questions. And then you answer a question, and like I said, the first question is multiple or is true false. Second question is multiple choice. Third one is open ended, and then that's it. First person to get 5 wins. So yes, there is the really yeah. See it creepily moved. Like this is so
We have the early version.
yeah. Obviously, because I mean, look at that eyeball. That is.
Get
It's watching
it's my
you.
favorite game
It is not.
with
One
the
of
eye
them.
on it.
Oh, with the eye. All right, on to our 10th game. Oh, another. I should have known that.
Oh my! I should have known that. I had that on my list for quite some time, and we finally broke down and bought it. It's a trivia game for the most part, but they're supposed to be easy trivia games, or trivia questions.
So you start. It's different.
Yeah.
It's a little
So
different from most games.
the back of the card has easy to hard, like they're not sorted by any kind of
You're answering questions on a card.
they're just random questions on the card.
And
They don't.
so at the beginning of the game, you say how many points you're starting with.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want a quick game, you can say like 50. And 50 doesn't sound quick, but some of the point values are pretty high.
They go up
You
to
can say
9.
100. And you go through the entire card. If you get the question right, you keep your points. If you get the question wrong, you lose points.
First
as simple
person
as
to
that.
0 loses.
Yeah, first person to 0 loses.
Which is usually me.
I think you beat me. I
Once.
think you beat me this time.
Yeah.
So it was close. We got down to it, and yeah. So sometimes questions are really easy. Like, oh, that was sometimes you're like, who knows this? Like, we even look at the answers and we're like, who knows this? You know.
Yeah. I
But
don't know.
I should have known that. A really fun party game. That I think is going to become a staple of our New Year's Eve gaming. So
It's fun.
I should have known that. Next game is King Domino. I played this one at school. I think on the last day before break. Some kids were just kind of hanging out. They weren't really sure what to do. I'm like, come play King Domino. King Domino tile laying game like dominoes. Each tile has 2 parts, 2 different land features. You're trying to match the land features, so you have big areas of each land feature, and then you need to get crowns. The way you score is the number of squares in a land feature area that's connected times the number of crowns, and each one of those you score, and the person who has the most points wins. King Domino, another one of those ones that is quite well known game, so I won't talk about that one too much. Played that once right before Christmas break with a couple of kids at school. Libertalia Winds of Galecrest. This is a game. I played this one solo. So what you're doing is you have a hand of pirate cards, and each one has a value, 1 through 40, and then they each have an ability. You play one of them, and then in the solo mode there is the pillager, I think it is. And so you play one of those up there, and then you play. Then the backs of the cards tell you which of the opponents, which of the Automa's cards you play. You put them in order from least to greatest. You have a summer, or during the daylight, you go left to right, and you do any abilities. During the sunset or dusk, you go right to left. You do abilities, and you also take a token. You're trying to like get different tokens that give you different values and different points and everything. And then at the end you have a phase where you trigger more effects, and at the you work over 3 explorations. I can't remember what they call it. Journeys, I think. The first one is 4 days, the second one is 5 days, the third one is 6 days. And at the end of each one of those journeys, which I don't believe they're called journeys, but I can't think of what they're called at this time. You have some extra effects as well, some anchor effects that do some different things. You do your scoring, you put the total in your treasure chest, you add it to what you have, and then you redeal 6 new cards. So you start with 6 cards. You're going to use 4 of them in the first round, and then you get to keep the other 2. So everybody starts with the same 6 cards, and then from there, depending on which cards are played, people have some different cards, even with this solo mode. Then you draw 6 new cards for the Automa. You get the same 6 cards, but now you both have 8 cards in the second round, or in the second round of the game. And each one of those goes, now you might have a couple different cards, and then you play 6. No, you play 5. You draw 6 more, so now you've got even more that are the same. You got 6 more that are the same, but depending on which card you played, you've got some differences. And yeah, you just see who scores the most points at the end. That is Libertalia Winds of Galecrest. Has a really good Automa. I like how it adds in the 3rd card, so that's really good. Next one is Link City. This was a new party game to us.
Link City, where you are
Cooperatively.
Thank you. Cooperatively working together to build a small city, and you're trying to link all of your buildings together by
you start with the city hall, and
I'm not good with describing.
You start with the city hall. There's square tiles, and then there's 4 tiles, 1 on each side. Each one is a building. Then,
yes.
Then you have one person who draws 3 tiles. Well, first Stacey would put 3 cones out as to where we're gonna build. Then I take 3 tiles, which have 3 new buildings. In those buildings, I then have to decide where they're going to go based on what other buildings are out there already. And then I hide which ones they are. Then I reveal what the buildings are, and Stacey has to say where she thinks they all went. And then if you're right, you get to put it there, and you want to track and connect the trees that are on the sides. And then if you're wrong, you can put it anywhere in the city that is not that spot. So it is a fun game. We did an initial impressions for this one, and
which I probably described it better on that.
It was fresh in your mind.
It was.
Yeah, so Link City, it's a really fun game. We played it several times in a row. It plays pretty quickly. And then you change roles. So then you kind of go back and forth.
You're the city manager.
Yeah. If you're ever perfect, you get to get a 4th one. So you get to get a little bit more in there, and you get to add in a special card so you can get some extra trees connected. And when you don't get one right, you have to actually connect it at an angle, I
Mm-hmm.
believe, because then you don't get any trees. So it does make it a little harder. You feel good when you get one that's connected to like 3.
Mm-hmm.
But this is one of those games that we both think much differently. Anything that has to do with words and stuff like this, we think in much different ways.
Yes.
So some like, oh, it's so obvious, and then the other person like, well, it could be there, and then it could be there, and well, it could be that, and we're just like, oh my god, just put it where the obvious spot is.
Which
We
is
do,
obvious to me, but not to him.
yeah. Well, and then when you're done, you're like, oh yeah, that is
I
obvious.
see that.
Well, usually the one person is like, oh yeah, that would go really well right there, but it could, and you're just sitting there going, no, yeah, it would really go really good right there, where you just said it the first instant. So that is Link City, really fun party game, plays really well at 2. Yeah. Next one is Lockup. This is by Thunderworks Games. In Lockup, you are playing as a um, some creature who is locked up in the prison, and you are bidding in the solo mode. You're bidding against the guards for each section in the prison to try and earn things that you can then turn into different weapons or different items. And then you're trying to make sure that you don't get oh my god, I can't think of what it's called. Oh my lord, my brain is just off today. It's first day back at school. You're trying not to get the little gray cubes, which I cannot think of what they are called right now off the top of my head, because those are bad for you. Suspicion cubes. Because if all the suspicion cubes go are gone, then there's a raid. Whoever is the most actually loses points. Um, yeah, you're trying to gain goons. You're trying to make items, earn points. So that is lock up. It's blind bluffing. So like you place something down, but then you reveal something. Then the guards place a value down, a value guard down. But then you get to reveal one. So depending on where you want to go, you start revealing things based on where you want to go, so that you can see how many points you need to win that spot. The next game is Maple Valley by Kids Table Board Gaming. This is in the world of Maple Valley of Creature Comforts, and it is a worker movement game where you are moving your worker around this area. You're trying to gain cards that lead to festivities and different things. You can get little friends to help you move around more. You're trying to deck build. You're building a deck. It's a deck builder. You're trying to build your deck as well as get some resources that can allow you to make some different items. And then when you do make things, you can go towards the festivities. You're trying to get this party going, and you're trying to build towards these festivities and move around the board to get all these different resources.
It's a cute game. At first, when I played it, I didn't care for it. It was a little too much for me. But now that I'm a big time gamer, I really like to play it.
Yeah,
I've gotten used to this type of a game now. So I actually do enjoy it. If it's between this and Creature Comforts, I'll pick Creature Comforts, but Maple Valley's good too.
That's Maple Valley. My Little Side. Oh, I played this one. Man, I mean, I just put the slideshow together yesterday, but yeah, My Little Side. I got to the table at my board game club at school as well. Taught it to a bunch of kids who had never played it before. Basically, what you're doing is you're moving around this board, which is a bunch of hexagonal spaces. You are collecting apples. You're collecting gems. You are collecting maps to get some different things. Then you're trying to deliver to the castle in the middle. You can attack basically and have a pie fight with people to try and get their goods. You're also trying to improve your movement and you're trying to improve your movement and your make abilities. You can move, you can make, and you can roll a dice. And I can't remember what that one's called. A really fun game. I love this one at school with the kids. It's a lot of fun every time I play it. Just trying to collect different things and trying to earn 4 trophies. There's 8 different trophies you can possibly earn. If you have 8 friendship, if you have 8 pies, if you win a pie fight, if you um, deliver the apples, deliver the gems. If you get 2 of the maps, I can't think of what the other 2 off the top of my head. But there's My Little Scythe. Next one, oh snap.
snap.
Another one of our New Year's Eve staples for many years, even before we got into our board gaming big time.
This is always a staple on New Year's Eve, and we'll even play it a couple times throughout the year. You have basically a like a little pool table for the most part, where you pull it back, pull back the arm, and you put all of the little round, I don't know what they are, little
Little
round
discs
things
with
with the
a,
little
yeah.
handle on the top, and you put them all in the bottom of the board, and then you let the end go, and they all get smushed together, and then you have to pick out from all of the little round things the different sizes of little round things. The big ones are worth more because they, possibly move
They're
it
harder.
more.
They're harder to
harder
get
to
out.
get, and then the smaller ones are worth less. If the little bar holding everything together moves even just a half of a centimeter, you don't get to count that point. You put that in the discard pile, and the next person gets to draw. Person with the most points at the end wins.
Yeah. Hey, this is a fun one. Like I said, you pull the little. You can kind of see there's a little um handle there with a spring on it. You pull that back.
A little pinball machine.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it is, like a pinball machine, but there's a big old bar on it that kind of pulls everything together. And you're sitting there, you're looking over the top, like I can take that, and all of a sudden the whole thing snaps. So that one's a fun one. Really enjoy that one. That one's been a staple even before we got really big into modern board gaming.
It's fun. That's snap.
Race to the Raft.
Race to the Raft.
Race to the Raft is a game from City of Games. Really fun tile laying game. You're trying to get cats from their starting spot to the raft as fire is chasing them across the island. And you have different starting spots. You have different. Each person takes 3 cards, square cards, tiles. Their card quality, and that have a different variety of colors on them. Cats can only move on their color. On your turn, you either play a card down to extend the path of a cat, and then in which you then place fire down, or you play a card to move a cat. And then you want to get them to the rafts so they are escaping. Um, some of them you have to get cats in a certain order. There's different island boards. There's some that's a big square, rectangle, and then the expansion, which we didn't play with this month, has different crazy shaped ones. We have a problem with not moving the cats fast enough and just wanting to get our trail, our paths going, and go, oh, we better start moving some cats here because we are not going to have any place to put fire. So we end up like in the first couple rounds, like almost playing all 6 of our cards down to extend paths without moving any cats, and we're like, we got to start moving cats. Once you move cats 4 times, and you use 4 cards for that, then you place an extra piece of fire. So you want to get those cats moving so that you got place behind them to place fire. Really fun game. We really enjoy playing this one co-op. It's a minimal discussion, so you can't say a whole lot when you're working. You can't be like, oh, I've got a straight red one that has 3 spaces, or I can move 5 spaces already. You can say, I've got a really good one for red, or I've got a great one for red, or I've got nothing for red. So it's very minimal.
There is a little token that you can talk.
Yeah, so there's a token that you can talk and have free kind of talk, and then there's another one where there's a cat token which you can then meow at the person to try and get them to do what you want them to do, or no, don't go, and then there are water tokens, as we always forget about, that you can use to get rid of some of the fire, because the fire always connected to other fire. So Race to the Raft, really fun, polyomino. The fire pieces are all polyominoes, and then the cards are all just square cards with, it's a 3x3 grid. So you're trying to place them around and stack them so that you can get things going. And trying to figure that out is always a fun little puzzle. Next game, Rolling Realms. Finally got the Into the Realmiverse expansion, campaign expansion to the table. For some reason, it just wasn't clicking with me as to how to play it. And then I did watch a playthrough, and I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Ended up succeeding in, I think, 7 rounds. I played on easy just to understand it. Very excited to get that table. But basically, Rolling Realms, in base rolling realms, you play 3 rounds with 3 cards, which are all realms of different games, which have aspects of different games. You're rolling dice, trying to figure out the best way to earn the most stars. You get your you can get different pumpkins, coins, and hearts to manipulate the dice or make more dice. In the Beyond the Realmiverse expansion, you are doing a campaign where it's talking about how the original realms and the promo realms universes have collided, and you're trying to do some different things. Uh, each one of the four stages of the campaign have a different thing that it's talking about. So it's a lot of fun, very replayable. I'm very excited to get that to the table a little bit more. Maybe even a playthrough of that on the channel at some point. The next game is Categories, and you can talk about this. I'm going to open this window because it is getting warm over here.
It's very warm. Categories is one of our other favorite party games that we like to play on New Year's Eve, and we've adapted it to 2 players. So is what we do for the 2 players is we get out our sheet and we roll the dice, and whatever the it comes up as, we do that as the first one, but we keep that same sheet with those categories or
Same
those
card.
words. And that's it. Yeah, the same card, and then we roll the dice for was it 6
We do
times?
6 times, so
With the same things to see what we can come up with different letters. Sometimes we have to vote and say, no, I don't think so. Other times
usually we're
like,
pretty easy with each other because we'll usually give each person usually gives each other one, so it kind of evens out. Yeah, so like Stacey says, there's 11. Each card has 11 different categories. In the base game, in the main game, you just roll the dice. It gives you the starting letter. Every word needs to start with that letter. If you have a 2-letter word that start both word 2-word answer that both words start with the same letter, you could get 2 points. If you're using a proper name, you can use the first or last name in order to fulfill something. And so yeah, like Stacey said, when we play this, we always do 6 rounds on one card and 6 different dice, and then add up our total score. It just makes it a little bit more fun for us. And it's really interesting because you already know the categories, and yet it seems like as you get to that like fourth, fifth, and sixth letter, all of a sudden your brain is completely forgotten like anything about those categories whatsoever, and you're just like, I can't come up with a word at all. So that is Categories. That one's another one that has been one of our New Year's Eve staples for a long time. Next one, Sea Salt and Paper. Stacey actually bought me this for Christmas, and we played it. We got it to the table once, really quickly. Definitely need to get it to the table again. Set collection game with some absolute gorgeous art. I just realized we need to do an initial impressions for this video or for this game. Still.
Okay.
So we need to do an initial impressions for this. So we need to get at the table again. Set collection game where you are trying to get different sets. Like I said, we played it once and it was a broken play because dinner was ready in the middle of our play. So I don't remember. I don't know, our dog's freaking out about something.
He didn't like the score of the game.
Oh. Oh, yeah, no. Anyway, so your set collection, when you play them down, I think you get some abilities if you play it down in front of you. You end each round when you think you have the most points. Anytime after you get, I think it's 7 points, you can say you're done. And there's a little push your luck element. You can say, I believe you can say you're done and the round is over and everybody stops. Or you can say final chance or something, and the other person gets another chance. And if you have the most points, then you earn the points plus your color bonus for your biggest colors. If you don't have, then you only earn the color bonus, and the other person gets all their points. So you got that little push your luck element to it that we have come to enjoy. So yeah, and just absolute gorgeous artwork on this one. Definitely need to get this one to the table more. I think this one will be one we end up playing quite a bit this year because it is a quick game to get out and a quick game to play.
It's a deck of cards.
Yeah, it's a deck of cards. You shuffle them up, you deal some out, play a couple rounds, and you're done. Anything you wanna?
It's fun.
It's fun. That is Sea Salt and Paper. Moving on to the next game, Shelfie Stacker. I know you like this one.
I do like Shelfie Stacker. That was one of the games that I chose. So with Shelfie Stacker, you are trying to take all of your games and fit them into the shelf so they look nice. You have a deck of cards. Each person has a deck of cards that go up to 16, I think.
Yep, 16
And
characters.
you pick out of those 16 characters, you pick 8 of them, and each one has a different ability while you play the game. So you lay down that card, and then you can use that ability. You have a box. You have your boxes where your dice are going to be laid. You draw them out of a bag. You put them on the boxes, and then depending on what card you're playing, on what ability you have with those dice, to move them onto your shelf. Some of them you have to have them in concurrent order. Some of them let you place, you know, put 2 1s in a row instead of going, 1 2 3. You can sometimes you can stack a dice on top of another dice that is equal to that dice. There's different abilities with the different cards, and so each time you play it, it's going to be completely different depending on which characters you decide to use.
Yeah.
I can't remember how the game ends. I think it's
When the dice are gone. So each round you have each round in a 2-player game you have 3 boxes. You put 3 dice on each. Whoever plays the lowest value card gets the first choice. The lower value cards get you the first choice of dice, but the higher value cards usually are like better abilities, stronger abilities. Like the lower ones have stuff like, oh, increase the dice by 1, decrease the dice by 1. The upper ones are like, okay, you can move an entire stack up and put something in the middle, or you can use the card again, or different things. So, yeah, this is a fun one. And then once you will go, it's 7 rounds because you will not use one of your 8 characters.
That's right.
So yeah, Shelfie Stacker. It's kind of a meta game where you are trying to get your shelves to look the nicest, like Stacey said. Your lower value dice have to be on the bottom, higher values on top. The 6 dice is wild, so you can change it to anything.
And then you also have a card that says what order.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you get that, it's a bonus at the end of the game.
Right. So then there's 3 kind of bonus cards. There's an instant one. So as soon as someone has a certain configuration of dice with the right colors in the right orientation, that person gets those points. Whoever has the most of a certain color at the end of the game, actually, as soon as someone gets 3 of whatever color is in play that game, they get the card, but that card can go back and forth. Whoever has the most at the end of the game gets those points. And then there's another one, then there's another end game scoring one as well. So, yep, really fun game, Shelfie Stacker. If you like dice and, just want a nice kind of chill game, Shelfie Stacker is a good one. All right. Strike. Speaking of dice, Strike. This was new to us in December.
The board is inside the box, and so the box is basically your board game. You have your dice, you shake them, you throw them into the arena.
One at a time.
One at a time. And then if you get an X,
that dice
is out. If you get a pair, you can grab that pair out. The person that runs out of dice first loses.
Yeah. So little push your luck on the fact that you are you're rolling the dice and you can roll them in nicely. You can roll them in hard to try and knock other dice around. Yeah, like I said, if it gets an X, that dice gets eliminated. You each start with 8 dice. First person to lose all the dice loses.
The arena is padded so that you don't.
Yeah, so it doesn't bounce around. Well, so it doesn't bounce around. Yeah, so yeah, if you want to get dice that match, because then you can get more dice out of the arena and you don't lose dice. But yeah, really quick, really fun game. That was Strike. That one will get to the table quite a bit, I think, because it just you get it out, you get the dice out, and you can start playing.
You can play a game in probably 5 minutes or less if you really suck at it.
Yeah, you can get it out, set it up, play it, put it away in probably 6 minutes because it just plays that quick. And like I said, you take the lid off, you grab the dice, you each get 8 dice, and you start going. So that is Strike. Next game, Survival of the Fattest. This one was new to us this month. Kickstarter, we actually did a live stream of this, which Dirty Rascal Games joined us on, which was very cool. Survival of the Fattest is a worker placement resource management game where you are trying to survive. You're trying to build up so that you survive in the winter. So there's 12 rounds, 4 rounds in each season. Um, you're placing your worker, which are these. We've got the deluxe version, so we got these really nice miniatures in one of 5 different locations, either in the market where you can exchange for a face-up card or take a face-down one, into a forge location, which has some different abilities, or over in the location where you can get recipes. You need to also feed your animal. So when you your resources are really cards that have different things on them. And then you have to feed them. Your sixth location is actually on your player mat, and you stash. The reason you want to stash is you want to stash things because at the end of the 4 rounds in the reset phase, that is when you can make your recipes and you can feed your animal. Each character has a different ability, but then when you feed them, they get like a bonus, so they get some extra power. The recipe cards are multi-use. They can either be made as a recipe for points, or you can make them directly from the area, and that might have been the market. I can't remember which two sides are which, but you can either make it directly from a face up on the board that goes underneath, and that gives you some extra abilities. Maybe you can have more cards in your hand. Um, when you forage, depending on the person who goes first is the one who has the highest forage card, and you keep on going down. When you forage, you can play as many forage cards as you want. Each character has three special ability cards, which allow them to do some extra things. Although we do have a little mini expansion, which we will build in every time we play now, which just gives you a fourth one. Um, yeah, this was a really fun one. This was a big hit for us. I could definitely see this making our 2024 our 5 and dime for 2024 games. I would not be surprised seeing this one on either of our lists, if not both.
And if you don't feed your animal, you lose.
Oh yeah.
By the end of the game, if you do not have your animal fed, you're automatically out of the game, no matter how many points you have stored or how many points you have with your recipes.
Yeah, it's an automatic loss. The first game we played, I was not really paying attention. I fed him at the very end, and then realized, oh, I should have really focused on getting him fed because that bonus would have been really nice. This also has a very smooth solo mode. If you are a solo gamer, I played a game of that. The AI runs very smooth. Feels kind of like you're playing against an actual opponent. Really like it. We got some extra modules for this that we're very excited to try. That is Survival Fast. And check out our live stream Wednesday with the Willses that we did. And like I said, Dirty Rascal Games joined in, clarified some things, reminded us of a couple things. So we do have a full playthrough of that on the channel. Next is 10 Penny Parks. 10 Penny Parks is a polyomino laying game from Thunderworks Games that you're building a little amusement park. The interesting thing about this one is you cannot place the amusement rides or anything next to each other. You have to place them at a corner if you place them near each other, which makes sense for a theme park because you're not going to have rides that are like right next to each other with like a hot dog stand in the middle of them. So it makes sense for the theme. And you also maybe need to clear out some trees. The solo mode for this is done really well. You're playing against Becky, who is just earning points. She's not actually building anything. She's actually just taking the cards. And you're also going against across 3 attribute tracks. And you have some different categories that you need to kind of fulfill. So the solo mode, this is really fun because it's always a mind game as to, okay, what am I okay with Becky taking? Because in the easy mode, she will always take the most expensive ride and then the least expensive. So if you can force her to take the concessions, she doesn't get to kind of promote that at the end of the round. So she gets no extra points. I also have the little mini Fast Pass expansion, which adds a little to it. Really like this one. I think last summer, this was my #1 polyomino game. When I did my 5 and dime last summer, I really enjoyed this game. I love the solo mode game in this. I like that kind of mind game is, okay, what can I do to make sure Becky does what I want her to do so that I can stay ahead of her on the attribute tracks and stuff. So that is 10 Penny Parks. That's Not a Hat. Another one I played at school. This is a memory game where each person has a card face up. You take one more, you place it face down. You are passing cards around the table depending on what the card says, and you have to try and remember when you give it to them, like, hey, here's I have a nice traffic cone for you. And if they think it's a traffic cone, they're like, thank you for that traffic cone. And then they just go on to different things. You would think it's really easy, even with 4 players, with only 5 cards moving around the table. It's not, because once a card goes face down, it is face down. And you're like, wait, did they move that card over there? Did they move it back? Wait, where did that card go? And then once you start starting a new round, all those cards are face down. You're like, I don't know what's out there anymore. Really fun game. I like playing this one with on our Wellness Wednesdays. I've started up at school. So that's not a hat. Guild of Merchant Explorers, another solo game. Almost like a flip and right, roll and right type game without the writing. You have little tiles, so you flip cards and you are placing little cubes down to move across a map to explore different areas. You can get different bonuses. You can get little cities. You can connect cities and have them be trade cities and get some extra points. You can get to some different areas where you build these little like monuments. I don't remember what they're called off the top of my head. Um, it's a game that I definitely want to get to the table more. It is a really fun one. I love my roll and writes, and this one has that feel of a roll and write or a flip and write without the right part of it. A lot of little pieces. I did get something at Walmart to organize it better, so I think it will get to the table more. Really fun little game. Guild of Merchant Explorers. Next one, Tiny Towns. I taught Tiny Towns to Stacey this month.
Yes, you did. I didn't do very well.
So Tiny Towns is a game with little cubes. You're in the multiplayer. One person says the resource basically they need wood, um, glass,
Stone,
stone, and I don't remember what the other one is.
something else.
And something else. And you're trying to make different configurations with your little cubes on your 4x4 tiny town. Um, you're trying to basically make them into polynomial configurations so you can get different buildings. The different buildings score differently. It's a lot of fun. I've played this primarily solo. Taught it to Stacy because I thought she might like it.
I liked it.
Yeah,
I'd play it again.
yeah. So it's a fun little game. You just got to figure out how to best like where to grab your stuff. I think the spatial part of this, especially since you're like placing things in different, like, oh, this and then this and then this,
Yeah.
and you know what you want, but then the other person may not need that, and they're like, okay, where I can put that so then I can get what I want.
You got to sometimes put a pub next to a pub. Sometimes you got to put the pub next to the church.
Yep, you got to put stuff
Yeah,
around. You
get
need
the
more than one of
factory.
this thing in order to do this. Yeah. So Tiny Towns, really fun little game, little spatial game. 4x4 grid that you're trying to do the best you can with building as many different buildings as you can. As soon as you have the right configuration of the tokens or the little cubes, you take them off and you place a building in one of those spaces. Trekking the national parks. Why don't you take the lead on this?
Oh dear.
Oh, you can do it.
Trekking the national parks. You have a board. See, I can't distinguish this between trekking the national worlds one or whatever it's called.
Parks
and the
you're,
what?
you're thinking of parks and trekking the national parks.
Trekking national parks. So you have different national parks that you're trying to gather. You are moving around the board, trying to collect the stones. And when you stop at a spot, you can collect that stone as you head to your national park. So you have your national parks across the top of the board, and you have different symbols on those national parks that you need to collect in order to visit that park. Once you have the cards, you lay down that number. So there's different numbers with different symbols across the bottom. So if you need a 7, you can use any multiple of cards to get to 7 to move to that spot. If it's Yellowstone, you can take, and that card happens to be showing, you can take your Yellowstone card. If there's a stone there, you get to collect that stone. There are different colors of stones with different values. So at the end of the game, whoever has the most stones of one color gets a bonus, and then you get to add up your national parks cards. And is that all for the scoring?
Uh,
I
yeah.
can't.
So you have your stones, which first place gets a certain number of points, second place gets a certain number. The stones that there's the least of, it's the highest,
Mm-hmm.
or that there's the most of is the highest point value. And then you have your parks, which you are visiting, and when you visit them, you get to take it in front of you. The cards are multi-use cards. The numbers on them tells you how many spaces you can move. The symbol slash color on them is what is used to visit a park or go camp at a. So there's three major parks in play, which give you some extra ability. So you can camp at those. Everybody has an opportunity to camp at those. Those are worth 5 points each. The national parks that you visit and take in front of you are worth various point values. And then it's the first person. I think it was the five. It's either the first person to 5 cards, or if all of the stones are taken. Yeah. Um, Very similar to like a Tick the Ride type with the
Yep.
moving around your cards and everything. So yeah, that is trekking the national parks. Moving on to the next game is Umbrella. Umbrella is a tile laying game where you are trying to make different configurations of the tops of your umbrellas with different colors. Um, and then it's got a really cool mechanic where on your board, you can either take one from the bottom of your board, you can take one from the central board, or you can take from either of the boards that are next to you. And when you do, you have to place it in on that side, and it pushes a row across, and then that one has to go there. So if I take one from my left and I put it in, then it moves a row to the right. The one I take off has to move to the thing on the right, and then the next person can take it. You start with two configuration tokens face up uh, on your board, and so you have to get a single color in that configuration. As soon as you do, you pass that to the other person, and you can flip it to either side. And then what they do is they have to put it in the next empty space. You have 4 spaces on top of your board. You start with 2 stacks of 2, and the game ends when either someone completely or has no um, little patterns that they need to do, which we never did. I don't remember what the other end game scenarios are in this one. That was one of them, and we never actually did that one.
That's the one you remember.
That's the one I remember. Is the one we never actually got to. So there's a couple other end game scenarios.
Yeah.
I think it had to do with some sort of point total or
I
something.
thought you collected a certain number of cards.
Well, you don't collect them. You hand them to the other person.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember what the end game
I don't
scenario
remember.
was. Honestly, I do not
We need to
remember.
play it again.
Yeah, we played it quite a bit, but it's like I said, I got sick after that, and then I don't remember. Yeah, so there's a couple different end game scenarios, and then you score points based on how you did, and then if you have umbrellas on the bottom of your board at the end, you lose points. Um, yeah, there was something, and I don't remember off the top of my head. I apologize. I don't remember what the end game scenarios are, but it is a really fun game. I like the mechanic of if I take something from the big central board and I push it down, now I've pushed something down onto my board. I really need to make sure I get rid of that because that's going to be points at the end. If you don't have anything on the bottom, you actually earn some points. So yeah, that is Umbrella. Unsurmountable is a solo game I played from Button Shy. It's a little 18 card game where you are making a mountain. You have a base camp with 5 cards. The first card is the only one you can actually place in your board. You're trying to make a path from the bottom to the top. You're making a pyramid of 4, 3, 2, 1. You're trying to make a single path that goes from the bottom to the top. The other cards in your base camp you can use as an ability, but if you do, it gets discarded, and then everything slides. You put a new card in. So, fun little game. Unsurmountable. Verdant is another one I got to the table real quick. A lot of these were real quick, just for my 24 for 24. This is by Flat Out Games, Cascadia Calico company, where you have some intertwined drafting as well. You have a room card, you have a flower card, and then you have a thing that goes in one of the rooms, and you take either the flower or the room. You can't place 2 rooms next to each other. You can't place 2 flowers next to each other. So basically, it goes flower, room, and then above a flower, you would have a room as well. and then the little tokens go in. You're trying to do some set collection as far as like having a variety of colors or a variety of items, and then you are also trying to score. You're trying to put flowers next to rooms that they go with so that there's some scoring there. Really fun little game. That is Verdant. Only a few left here. Joaquin Burano, another quick solo one. This is Burano, Italy, I believe. Don't quote me on that.
Looks like Italy.
And it's a place where all of the buildings are single colors, and then there's no two buildings next to, there's no two units next to each other that are the same color, and you are drafting cards out of a grid. You're trying to make single color. Trying to make 5 columns basically of houses with a base, a middle, and a top. You got some different scoring cards. You got different visitors and different locals that you are scoring based on some different things. Each round you take when you take cards, you have to go from the top down or the bottom up, and you have to take everything you're going to take. So like if I want the bottom two, then I think it's 1 coin. If I only take 1 card, I get like 3 coins. And then to build, you have to pay to build. And then once you build a unit, you can take one of the characters, and they score based on different things. So like you might have one that needs scores based on every cat that is in the column that is on that building, or every visitor that is walking along the road, or if you have how many different types of shops you have. It's a really fun, quick card laying game. So that is Walking in Burano. It's a really good solo mode. It's just a scoring one. Exactica. This is our X game for our alphabet challenges. This is a game.
We weren't sure if we were even playing it correctly.
Last year we got this we got this last year, just because we needed an X game and we needed a cheap X game, and this one was less than $10. We were looking for a couple letters for my alphabet challenge a year or two ago, and I think we finally just realized this year. I'm like, oh, this is simply a trick taking game. Like, I don't know why it took so long to realize it's just a trick taking game, but you are saying what the trick is. So on each one of the cards, you have one of 4 different shapes. You can kind of see them on the picture. You have a yellow star, you have a red ball, there's a blue cube, and then there's an orange cone. But there's different numbers of them on the cards. And you say, whoever goes first was like 3 blue cubes. And so the next person has to play a card that has 3 blue cubes. Each card, though, has a value from 1 to like 12 or 14 or something like that. So, like, if you play a card with 3 blue cubes that's an 11, you're really hoping the other person does not have a card that has 3 blue cubes that is a 12, because then they win. So I don't know why last year, and even we just had no idea if we were actually playing this right. And I just like when we were playing this year, I'm like, for some reason it just clicked. I'm like, oh, this is just a trick taking game. But you are naming what the trick is, and it's kind of like you are naming what you want them to play, and that is the trick. But so that's like the suit, but then the value of it is the value of the card. So the shape is your suit. You're saying what the suit is and how many they play. So like, and if they don't play something that has 3 blue cubes, they automatically lose, even if the number is high, which then they would just throw something low. So now that we understand what the game actually is, I think we'll actually enjoy it a little bit more. It's a fun little game. It really won't come out much other than to fulfill our alphabet challenge, probably, but it's a quick little game. That is Exactica.
Plays really quick.
Yeah. Next one, Yahtzee.
If you don't know how to play Yahtzee, email me and I'll explain it.
Probably the original Roll and Write.
Yeah. We played the Yahtzee with the national parks, and so it's basically the exact same as original Yahtzee, but the dice have different
Pictures
has a
on it.
moose or a mountain or I can't even remember what shapes are on there. But it's the exact same thing. Roll your full house. I had double Yahtzee. Roll your ones, twos, three, four, fives, and sixes. Add everything up, and at the end you win.
Yeah.
Or I win.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
With the
You
double
have
Yahtzee.
different things that you have to fulfill. Um, the the pictures on them are really easy to tell, like if you're getting four of a kind or the Yahtzees and stuff. But unfortunately, the numbers on them are really small because they're really small in the corner. So they're really hard to see. Like, wait, what number? Oh, that's that now. Okay. They're really hard to see. So when you're going to add this stuff up, it is a little tougher, but it's just a fun little version we picked up.
I think we got that in a national park.
I think so. I think so.
So
Either that or REI.
it could have been REI.
It might have been REI. It might have been sitting there at the end. I'm like, oh,
that could be.
okay, that is Yahtzee, the national parks version, but it's just Yahtzee. You're getting old. Go for it.
So with You're Getting Old, it's supposed to be a game for younger people to call people over 40 old. So there's a question on it. It asks you if you have ever used a rotary phone, then move up. Everybody has a little chart with their little person on it.
No, it's an avocado.
Oh,
that's
sorry,
on
with
it.
an
You love
avocado, with an avocado on it.
'Cause young
And
people
if you've
like
done
avocados.
something, then you move up. And then on the bottom of the card, you can redeem yourself by saying, "Well, if you have
Whatever.
whatever, then you can move back down a spot." So you move up, you move down. Whoever hits the top of the chart first is old.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is
It
basically
pretty much loses every time. There's always
it's
one thing that I
Karen's
really
versus Brandon's. I guess is what it is. You know the Karens.
no
She's such a Karen.
no. It's not
Oh,
no
guess
no.
so.
It's just
Makes you feel old.
you
You're
feel
like,
it'll be like oh I've never but
who's never watched a movie on VHS?
like
Come on, people.
like this one was really this one was really weird because like the first several like no no no.
Mm-mm.
Usually when I play this we're like skyrocketing up that you're getting old like yeah, okay, and then like the stuff that lets you redeem yourself and not move up is like no I don't care about that. This one we went several cards like no didn't do
If
that
you've
nope.
ever done a dance challenge on TikTok, move down. No, that's no.
Yeah,
I'll
so that's
just.
you're getting old. So it's a fun silly little game.
It makes me feel old.
And the final game was Zen Garden. It's one we did a playthrough for uh last month or in November.
Mm-hmm.
This one we got to the table because I do have an A to Z alphabet challenge and we needed to get to the table, so we got to the table one more time. Um, Tile laying game. Like I said, we do have a full playthrough of this. Tile laying game where you're drafting tiles, placing them on your board. It's another 4x4 grid. It has different floors, different paths, and different ornament things in the corner that you're trying to do some set collecting. You're trying to make the paths all one style so that you can get as many of those so you get points. You're trying to get as many of the little ornament things in the corner as you can that are the same because you get more points. There's some different scoring criteria and there's different tiers that you can do to add even more scoring criteria. So that is Zen Garden. Well, there you have it. There is our December 2024 month in review. A lot of fun games played. Did not quite get my 24 for 24 challenges done. Almost. I was very close. I had a couple games that I'd get up to 24 plays, which with not feeling good just did not happen.
Wasn't gonna happen.
And then we did our normal New Year's Eve. We've been playing just our fun, silly, party-ish, just quick fun games for many years. So that was a lot of fun on New Year's Eve. What do we have coming up? Let's see. Coming up, we have tomorrow night, or tomorrow, my top 10 most anticipated games of 2025 will post. And then on Friday, our five and dime for ranking our December 2024 games will post. And then next week we have I think I'm gonna do a month in review for Board Game Arena on Monday. I might do that one live. And then we got another top 10 coming where Stacey's actually gonna join me for our I think that's next week. I gotta look at our schedule for our top 10 favorite 2024 covers that we own. we're being very specific. Games that we own from 20 of our coverage. That was just kind of a fun one. And then we will have our games, our favorite games of 2024 in about a week and a half.
It's so hard.
Yes, we think
There's
2024
so
was
good
a
games.
good year, and it was with the first year of the YouTube channel. We played a lot of really good games in 2024. So ranking our 2024 games is going to be really tough. I'm hoping to get. I've got a couple more I really want to get to the table before I do my rankings. One of them I definitely will. The other ones I'm not sure if I will or not. But yeah, so that's what's kind of coming up, and then at the end of the month is going to be kind of a fun little five and dime because it is 1 year of the channel. So we're going to do something a little special for that one. Kind of looking back, some of our favorite things from the year will be our five and dime. So thanks for joining us. Let us know if you've played any of the games that we played in December and what you think about them. And
thank you to everybody who joined us.
Yep, thank you to everyone who joined us. Once again, this has been Where There's Wills.
There's a play.
I'm Ian.
I'm Stacey.
And we'll see you next time.
At the table.